Today we're going to be looking at section 8.5, the second half of this chapter, which deals with factoring trinomials in the form x squared plus bx plus c. So hopefully by the end of this you can say I can factor a trinomial in the form of x squared plus bx plus c. So we're going to start out with just a couple examples of multiplying. So I know you've done these before, so if you just take a little time to multiply them out, I'm just going to use distributive property quick. And we'd get x squared plus a 5x plus a 4x plus 20. And so I get x squared plus 9x plus 20. Okay, the second one, if I did the same thing, I'd get an x squared plus a 3x minus 8x minus 24. Okay, and the final answer then would be x squared minus 5x minus 24. So what I want us to focus on today, I want us to focus on where this number came from and where this number came from. So the 9x came from the 5 and the 4x when we combine them, and the 20 came from the 5 times the 4. So let's say that again. The 9 came from the 5 plus the 9. The 20 came from 5 times 4. So this was 5 plus 4. This was 5 times 4. Okay, if we look at the second one, where did this negative 5 come from? Where did the negative 24 come from? And again, the negative 5 came from 3 plus a negative 8. And the negative 24 came from 3 times a negative 8. So when we look at it that way, it's kind of interesting because now today we're going to be doing something called factoring. So we've done factoring before, but not with trinomials like this. So what we're in essence going to do, we're going to try and work backwards to see, okay, what did they come from? So we start out by filling in our boxes. This would be the x squared. This would have been the 6. And so now from that, I know that these two pieces would have been x's. But how do I know what to fill in this spot and this spot here? Well, in order to do that, let's flip back again one last time. So again, the middle term came from 5 plus 4. The end term came from 5 times 4. So these two numbers, if you add them together, you get the middle term. If you multiply them together, you get the end term. So what we're looking for two numbers that add together to give you 6. Those same two numbers have to multiply it. I said that wrong. Okay, we're looking for two numbers that add together, to give you 5, and they multiply together to give you 6. So when we think of it that way, I can think, okay, factors of 6. Factors of 6 would be 1 and 6, 2 and 3. Okay, so 2 and 3. 2, 3. This would have been a 3x. This would have been a 2x. So I know that my factors would have been an x plus 2, x plus a 3. Okay, so now let's flip to the next one. So here's what we've got. Again, in the end, we factor it. We want to get what came from the parentheses. So the number we've got is a 12. Let's fill in what we've got. We got x squared. We got 12 here. I know this would be an x. This would be an x. Now we have to think of factors. And again, we're looking for two numbers that add together to give you 7. But those same two numbers have to multiply together to give you 12. So we look at factors of 12. 1, 12, 2, 6, 3, 4, and there we have it. So we know that we have to have 3 and a 4. So this would have been a 4x, This would have been a 3x, and those do add up to the 7x. So we've got what we need, x plus 3, x plus a 4. Okay, let's look at another one. Now I've got different signs. And last week we worked on these signs a little bit. We talked about them. Let's just get it started here. I know that these two pieces go there. I know that this is an x. I know that this is an x. And then we need two numbers that work out in this pattern. We know that two numbers have to add together to give me a -3. I know those same two numbers have to multiply together to give me a -18. So what do? I factor out -18. I know it could be a -1 and a +18. It could be a -2 and a +9. It could be a -3 and a +6. So then I check, do any of these add up to a -3? If I add these two together, I get a 17. If I add these two together, I get a 7. If I add these two together, I would get a 3. Well, that tells me that I just need to switch my signs. So it should have been a -6 and a +3. Then this box would have been a 3x. This would have been a -6x. And those two add up to the -3x that I wanted. So my factors would be an x minus 6 and an x plus a 3. Okay, a couple more. If I looked at this one, I've got an x squared. I got a -14. So I want to get my factors. I know I've got an x and an x. I'm thinking two things that add up to a -5. But they have to multiply together to give you a -14. So factors of a -14 is where we start. -1 and 14. -2 and 7. And that's all we have. So if we add those together, here I'd get a 13. Here I'd get a 5 when I add those together. So again, I got the opposite sign, so I know I just need to switch the signs in those two factors. So it'd be a +2, and it would be a -7. This would be a -7x. This would be a 2x. And these two would add up to my -5x. So I've got an x plus a 2 and x minus a 7. Okay. You try one. So pause the video, see if you can get it. Okay, so here's what you should have done. You should have had an x squared. You should have had a 16, an x, an x. You should have asked yourself what two things multiplied to give you 16, but add together to give you an 8. So 16 and 8. So factors of 16. A 1, a 16. A 2, and 8. 3, no, 4, and a 4. So 4 plus 4. So it must have been a 4 and a 4. So this would have been a 4x and a 4x. Okay. So my factors are an x plus a 4, x plus a 4. Okay, last slide on this one. And this is what we talked about last week. So patterns that we see, if we have plus and a plus, what does that guarantee us for our factors? Well, last week, I think we had already said it. That would guarantee us that we have two pluses here. If we have a negative and then a plus c, it's still a positive c, that would guarantee us that we've got two negatives. Okay, if we go to the next one, this time I've got a negative c. So the negative c would tell me that one of them had to be negative, one of them had to be positive, and the same thing in this last case. We just know that we got to have opposite signs. Okay, so that is all I have for you on that. Hopefully it makes sense to us. And again, come with questions tomorrow if you have them. And that is a wrap.